ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in again on another episode of Zoom into Magic with me, Akshay. And my guest for today's episode is so special that I can't even believe that this is actually really happening because I'm not just a fan of his skill, I'm not just a fan of his performance, but I'm also a fan of his humanity, of the human side in him, of the person and the personality. This is a person who gives such positive vibes via his performance that you just feel like watching everything again and again and again, and he does everything so effortlessly. You have seen him cross many rounds on America's Got Talent. You've seen him fool Penn and Teller. You have seen him on Steve Harvey. You've basically seen him you've basically seen him everywhere. Just in case you're wondering, you've also seen him in a viral video where he got away with the. Let me actually get the guy on the show right now. Let's hear it from him. Let's hear the stories and the anecdotes of the mystery solver, Stephen Brundage. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you for bringing me on.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you so much for coming over here. So, Stephen, here's the thing. First things first. We all know that what was your first claim to fame? That was your viral video, right? The one with the cops.
Magician gets out a speeding ticket. Yeah.
Magician gets out a speeding ticket. Everybody, check that out. On YouTube. We can actually plug that in right now for the viewers to watch it.
Anytime?
Anytime. So how fast do you want me to do it?
I can't say like 1 second. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, as fast as you want.
He says he can do this in 1 second. I'll give him a little. Yeah, I'll give you like 15 seconds.
10 seconds.
Okay, 15. And then I'll show. Can I step aside or is this?
Yeah, no, step out.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Let's see it.
Ready, set, and go.
1, 2, 3,
A little louder.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Keep on going past 15. Keep on going.
16, 17,
We'll go for
18,
20.
19, 20.
Like that. So about 20.
Holy
Now,
shit!
it's good, but you said 1 second, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you the 1 second cheating move. So I want you to watch close. We're going to mix it up. Your name?
Officer Brady.
Brady.
Yeah.
Officer Brady. That's me. I'm Steven.
Yeah.
So watch. Is that still mixed up on every single side?
It appears to be.
Watch it. With it mixed up, if I turn it once, it's still going to be mixed up. The cheating happens when you toss it in the air like that. That's the 1 second part.
How did you do
No.
that?
I got so good at cheating. Here's the best part I want you to watch close with that Rubik's Cube. We're going to mix it up. Here's the best part. For mixed up, we're going to do one-handed behind the back. When I catch it, it's going to be back to soft. So watch close. For mixed up, on every single side. For mixed up, one-handed behind the back. When I catch it again, take a look. That's 1 second right there.
How did he do that, dude?
I don't know. I can't, dude. I was the kid always taking the stickers off.
A magician does not reveal his tricks. That was awesome, man. Good job, man.
So,
That was great.
Stephen, tell us the story. What happened over there exactly? Were you even prepared for something like that? Were you, what happened? Did you expect that?
It was one of those things where I was driving home from a gig, and it kind of just came up in conversation. It was middle of winter, and the cops, I was like 2 minutes from my home. I drove 4 hours already, and I was pulled over. I wasn't speeding too fast, but they asked me, they said, are you a poker player? Saw all the cards on the dash, and whatnot. And I said, I'm a magician, and the cop said, do a trick. So at that point, I was going to do the trick sitting in the car, but I thought, I record this. So I recorded it on my phone, and I was like, you know what, you'd be better if I do the trick for the cops with the Rubik's Cube. I'm going to flash to the camera.
Right.
The camera's going to see it. The cops are going to do it. So it's like, I got to fix this. So I asked the cop to step out of the car.
Okay.
So I actually hopped out of the car, did the magic. I actually gave my phone to the officer to record it. And then the next day I posted it, got a couple million hits, and it kind of all just started just from that one little video.
Wow, that's amazing. And before that video being viral, were you a performing mentalist magician? Were you doing that like with all full swing? Were you doing that?
Yes, I did it about 1 year I was making a good living, and it was like just starting to take off. Like I booked my first ever $1,000 gig a couple months before. So it was like, like slowly, I was booking some shows and I saw like it could be something.
Right.
So I was turning it to something. And then once the video hit, it just took off everything.
That's just amazing. Now here's the thing. A lot of people on your video, I've seen people commenting, getting into moral issues that, is this even right? People, you cannot get away with the Rubik's Cube with the cops. What do we do? What do you respond to those people? I mean, should they just take a chill pill at this moment?
I mean, so I've done it like 6 different times.
Okay.
I've done magic for cops, and I got away. Sometimes it wasn't bad. Sometimes it was like my license plate light was out. Light above your license plate. So
Right.
that was out. They pulled me over for that, and I did magic. They let me go. Other times it was for speeding. Here and there.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's just you just be friendly. If I got a ticket, it wouldn't have changed the way I interacted with the cops. I would have been polite, respectful. Just doing magic was like a little bonus.
Oh, wow. And
actually people could get out of tickets without even doing magic. When the officer comes up, just be super charming, super nice, super, have your hands on the steering wheel, talk to them, engage them, don't be rude,
People generally get all defensive with the cops, right?
Yeah, they feel like they did something wrong. I come from a place of like, if I didn't know what I did wrong, I'm just like, officer, like, help me out, and then they're more than happy to help.
Now, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but apart from your skills, the cops must really, really appreciate, you being nice and polite to them. Like even in that video of yours, which actually went viral, even in that video, you can see that you're smiling, you're not doing this to show off. You're not being defensive. You're just doing this to have fun. I'm sure, like, even if later on, after your whole routine of the cubes, if they would have said, no, we are still going to fine you, I'm sure you probably would have let that happen. I'm assuming that. You tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it would have been fine. For me, they wanted to see some magic, and I did, they enjoyed it. So I had a good time, and it was pretty fun.
That's cool. Okay, now I have a question for you. But before I move on to the next question, do you have your Rubik's Cube on you by any chance?
I do. So this is a custom-made one that I had made for me.
Oh, wow. So are we fortunate enough to witness some of your skills right now with the cube?
Yeah, I'll do something with it.
Okay. Stephen Brundage in action, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, look at that.
I'll start by doing just a normal solve. So we'll mix it up, and then I'll use it. Use a timer so we see how fast I can do it.
Okay, yeah, let's do this.
Use a stopwatch.
Stopwatch. Okay.
And right there.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Make it a little bit to study it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you say go, I'll press start.
Okay. Start.
Say ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go.
No. I'm not warmed up, so it's going to be a little slow.
Oh, shit. Oh.
17 and a half. It was like 16 and a half, but there.
Cubastic, better beware. Stephen.
And that was about probably like 70 turns, and anyone could do that with enough practice. But the cheating happens. You can mix it up. The world record's like 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's Cubastic, right?
When you go to the competitions, people they start going faster and faster, and you start losing track of all the colors. So the secret is the blue middle sticker.
Right.
What you do is you count for a split second, and you throw it in there.
I just saw that happening right in real time for me. So I share my luck with Penn and Teller, Simon Cowell, how we Yes,
It's quick. This time we won't even watch much.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But that's just so awesome. Oh, you're doing something else now?
No, I was just showing it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that deserves a huge round of applause, Stephen. Thank you for doing that for us. It was an absolute treat for the eye, an eye candy, if you will. Now, Stephen, I have a very magician question for you. Are you ready for that?
Mhm.
Okay. When generally people walk around with a deck of cards and they perform with a pack of playing cards, they would say pick a card and here's your card. People do that. The most common comment from any layman generally comes in the form of, in some version of, these are gimmicked cards. These are not normal playing cards. These are your special magic cards. So they say that about cards. Now when it comes to a Rubik's cube, I know for a fact, because I've studied your work. Okay, I know that that's a genuine cube and that's pure skill. So do you come across people who just take it, for granted, and they just end up saying that, okay, so maybe that's just a special cube? Does that happen?
So it's one of those things where when you're like a beginner magician,
Right.
especially with the deck cards, you're so nervous. Like, what if they try to shuffle my deck? If your deck is like a trick deck or something, and you're like, what if they ask to shuffle it?
Right.
And it's one of those things where when you do magic more and more, after you do magic for like, you've done it for a long time, you've done it for 20 years,
Right.
that you just don't get that question. And if you do
Right.
get that question, you know how to, whether you completely ignore them, you don't even hear them. Like, they could be asking you that, and you say, "Oh yeah," and you've talked to somebody else.
Right.
You could acknowledge their question, and it's like, sure, shuffle, make a gag out of it, take it back. There's a million ways you do it, or you could say like, yeah, shuffle as much as you want. I get paid by the minute, whatever.
Right.
And then maybe switch the deck. So like, there's a million things you could do. With the Rubik's Cube, I always start my routine with them mixing it up.
Okay.
So 99% of the time, whenever I approach someone, the first thing I do is, hey, take it, look at it, mix it up.
Right.
So right away, they look at it, they see all the colors, they start to turn it. It's like, this is a Rubik's Cube. It's not a trick cube. It's just a normal cube.
Right.
So that takes it away right away. And even if they could do like 2 or 3 turns, and I just take it back and do those turns back. So I get that out right away at the beginning. If I don't want to mix it up, I just say, it's one of those things with magic. Just people don't know where you're going to end up. So you could literally have the Rubik's Cube. They're like, oh, let me mix it. It's like, yeah, great. 1 second. Hold this deck of cards. We're going to do a card trick. No, you know what? We'll use the cube. Check this out.
Wow.
I literally did nothing. I literally just said, oh, we're going to use the deck. You know what? No, let's just do this. And I totally just sidetracked.
Yeah.
So there's a million little things you could do to, just to get by those, and it's one of those things where when you first do magic, it's like, what do I do? What do I do? After you've done it 1,000 times, there's a million different things you could do.
Right. Right. So that's how it is. But do people actually do that? Has anyone ever approached you and said, I believe that could be a special cube? Have people done that?
Yeah. So in my stage show a lot, because my stage show, only one person really mix it up, so they can't really see it up close. They can't touch it. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's a trick cube, and I do things in the show that show like, hey, like, show all the sides. I toss it out. People mix it up. They look at it. They touch it. They feel it. Hand it around. So I get people to do things, so they show it's not a trick cube. So a lot of people think it's a normal cube, but a lot of people say, there's no other explanation. It's a trick cube. But
okay, all right. So okay, now here comes the next most interesting, moment in your life. We all, like any magician who's ever done any trick ever, has at least once thought about fooling Penn and Teller. And you have been on that show, and very, nice and charming way, you simply very effortlessly went over there, casually did your stuff, and and they had no clue. I believe, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken, they don't even go back to their chairs to sit over there.
They don't. At the time, it was the quickest. It was like less than 2 seconds. They stood up, and then they were about to walk back, and then they said, "We give up." And I was like, "What?" And I wanted to know what their guess was. I thought it would have been cool to hear what their guess was, but I guess it's cooler to just fool them right away, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even they did not have confidence in their guess, probably because
I think now, since there's so much cube magic out on the market now, that they would probably have some ideas with a lot of stuff. I actually did a Reddit post about it.
Okay.
I worked in that routine. I did 6 different red herrings into the routine.
Wow.
Built in to
Big
fool them.
difference.
Yeah. So it wasn't. There were some people in Fool Us where they did like they would walk all the way over here in Palm card and pretend to put it there. I didn't do anything that I wouldn't do in a normal show.
Right.
So everything was justified. But like, for example, I never showed them the orange side of the Rubik's Cube. That entire performance, I left one side completely even though it was a normal cube, I literally just never showed them that one side. So their brain is like, is it? We don't know.
Okay.
And also at one point when I did a solve with the Rubik's Cube, I had a paper bag down here. I took my hands with the Rubik's Cube and I went down with both hands to pick up the paper bag. So it's like the perfect moment to do a switch if I were going to do a switch, but I was just grabbing the bag. So there's lots of things that I worked in to help me fool them. A lot of thinking behind the scenes.
So that somewhat reminds me of, if you remember the Matthew Beach episode from the initial season of Fool Us, where Matthew Beach comes on stage and passes a balloon and then the pen makes his guess. That's a special box. There's some stuff in there. Then he goes, okay, let me open the box, and it says no.
Yeah. But it was like the size where it could be 2 decks in there.
Yeah.
So that thing, you kind of reel them in. And it's nothing that like the box wasn't too much. Like obviously some magicians go too far where they do all these fake moves and they add all this extra stuff that's not really necessary.
Right.
But the Matthew Beach one, that was great too.
and just yesterday, last night, I was having the same interview with Dan Harlan, and we happened to speak about his work on the Fool Us as well. Like he actually went ahead with a product that's literally has been at least touched by every magician once in his life. The whole prop, and still he fooled Penn and Teller with the little twist and the bait. And I asked him, like, do you feel there's a formula to fooling magicians? And he says, yeah, it's very simple. Do a trick for a magician that he's very, very, very familiar with, but then do it in a way that they are not familiar with. Like use a method that they are not familiar with, and they will be fooled. And but in your case, people have never seen stuff like that. Like I think you actually said this on America's Got Talent, that I'm the only one in the world to be doing this act.
Not true. I said that for TV. No, so, I mean, as far as method-wise, at that time, a lot of the stuff that I came up with was original. But obviously, there was a lot of like Carl Hein.
Right.
You know Carl Hein? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so look him up. Fantastic magician. What was really funny was I came up with some of the methods for some of the Rubik's Cube stuff, and he came up with stuff independent that was the exact same. So doing it way, way before me.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So my good friend Carl Hein, we came up with the same exact things. He came up with first, but I never saw him perform. But we had the same exact idea, but we did it differently. So it looked totally differently, but it was the same kind of moves. And then also Garrett Thomas, he did stuff with Rubik's Cube that was using some old methods, but made it look brand new. So there was a lot of people that did stuff. They just didn't have any recognition. So they did it for the magicians, for shows, but they never did it on TV. So at the time, I think I was the first person to actually make Rubik's Cube magic viral and like a thing. And since then, dozens and dozens of people have done it on all the Got Talent shows, which is, it's cool.
Yeah.
And a funny thing is everyone always asks me, like, are you jealous or are you upset or mad about all this stuff? And I'm just like, for me, I just love seeing magicians succeed.
Right.
Part of me wishes I'd put out some more Cube projects, but when people put it out, I just take it. If it's good, I'll put it in my show.
That's great. Speaking of which, that leads me to my next question. You perfectly gave me like the perfect segue, because that was actually, it's like you almost predicted what my next question was. Where's your Swami gimmick? Okay, so I was mentioning that since you mentioned you just said that if someone comes up with something new and cool, something that appeals to you, you wouldn't mind actually going ahead and also, imbibing some of that, into your routine. Now that brings me to a special edition in your act, which is the solution, and you know what I'm talking about. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So tell me about that. Like, did you? Uh, how did you? Is that like the Michael Murray? He did that,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you meet him and did he show it to you in person or was it released to us? How did that go? Tell us that story.
So with a lot of magic, a lot of times when people release it, they'll send me a copy of it beforehand. I look at it. If I like it, I'll do it. For me, it's less about if there's a gimmick involved. It's if it works, it works. I'm kind of a purist. I like just using deck of cards. I like just using just a normal Rubik's cube. But if you could do something with a gimmick that makes it impossible or a method, then I'm always going for it. Michael, I think someone posted about his trick.
Okay.
And I emailed him and I bought the TV rights
Wow.
to do it on the Today Show. So actually, a really funny thing about the Today Show performance, Al Baker, so he had the Rubik's Cube, right? And he's mixing behind his back. Normally,
Right.
he take it out. Did you notice that I had to take it out? So
Yeah. You just did this behind his back. Yeah.
no, he messed it up.
You messed it up.
Yeah, so normally he pulls it out solved. He mixed it up. I had to solve it as I was pulling behind his back.
And with one hand, you actually did that.
Yeah. I was so nervous because I said, oh, and he started to mix it. And I'm looking at it and I'm sweating. I'm like, he's actually mixing up the cube. So and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Because if he pulls it out, it doesn't work. So I reached and I just did it and and it was like, I've had dozens of times on TV where that happened. Like another time with Penn Jillette on Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Yes.
I don't think giving a method away, just like a timing force. Is
okay. And this is going to be on a very closed group.
Okay.
So you have only professionals. Yeah.
So, a timing force is not, essentially you have something where you wait a certain amount, 3 seconds, and you say stop, and that's what you get. With the Rubik's Cube, I was using a timing force for Penn.
Oh.
So, which is not a good method. I switch it up now. Now I do something different. But at the time, to match the cube, I was mixing, and I went through a sequence, and I got past that sequence, and I said, Penn, say stop. And he was supposed to say stop right here, but he didn't.
Oh. And he
didn't. No, he didn't. Penn didn't say stop. So I kept on going, and I went, and I was like, if he said stop right here, I would have been done. I couldn't get to where I needed to. So luckily he waited, and then he said stop right on the perfect moment. So the timing force didn't work, but he went past it, and I got so lucky in that circumstance too.
He kept looping you around and around and around,
and I normally at the time I shouldn't have done a timing force for a magician. That's something I should have learned. There's been lots of times on TV shows where things just happen to go wrong all the time. Where I was doing a blindfold solve for a TV show in Germany.
Okay.
And I asked them, like, oh, all the yellow are this side. And they're like, no. So I messed up while I was blindfolded. And I didn't know where I was. So the method that I use, I don't peek. I'm literally completely blindfolded. So I have to, like, guess what I was doing and did it actually blindfolded for the last, 20 moves.
Why would you do that to yourself?
It's just stuff happens and you have to. It was an accident normally, but lots of fun times.
Okay, now tell me. Now you just mentioned that you did the solving the cube with a blindfold. That actually gives me the picture, and I'm compelled to ask you this question. There was a particular episode. I believe it was Steve Harvey once, and it was Once on America's Got Talent, where you combined a card trick with a cube trick, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The selected card comes in folded inside one of the pieces. No, that was some cool collaboration. In fact, I believe that was the only time I've seen a Rubik's Cube, blended with a card trick. I had never seen it before that. Are you coming up with any other new ideas where you are going to blend, the Rubik's Cube with something completely different and something interesting? Are you having any ideas? Are you working on something, or have you already done something?
Yeah, so in my finale show, I do stuff with a mini Rubik's Cube mosaic. So I do that. Lots of different things you can do with that. I've been doing a lot more artwork now.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see that.
Oh my God! Look at that.
And there's one over there.
Are you serious? Shit.
Yes, I started doing all these giant artwork pieces, and that's kind of taking off. I'm probably going to make more money as an artist than as a magician this year, especially the way things are going.
So you're selling off, or you're
yeah. So that piece, I'm gonna glue it together and frame, and then sell it to somebody. Someone already bought it, so I have to finish it up.
Okay.
So with that specifically, doing the art, so you do like an hour, 2 hours, put together the art, and then you leave 2 blank spaces in the giant mosaic. And then at that point,
Right.
you do the 10-minute magic show, and then you do a matching cube, and those 2 cubes fit perfectly in the mosaic. So it's kind of like a mixture of art / magic and a cool hybrid of that. So that's something a little bit different that I've been trying out. But as far as the torn corner to Rubik's Cube, I'm actually going to be releasing that later on this year.
Wow. So we are gonna have like tons of different magicians now doing the exact same act. Hopefully, not copying you entirely.
But that's when I talked to Cube 3, I said like, hey guys, like maybe like do your own spin on it. And it was so funny. There was one guy who did, I think, Denmark's Got Talent or something, and he did my act verbatim, even the jokes.
Even the
and
joke.
the jokes weren't even that good, but he did like every line, everything, which I did release it, so you can't be, for me, I was a little bit like, that feels a little bit weird,
But speaking about the format of the Got Talent, I believe, and since I have seen this, I've experienced this live. Even in India, we have India's Got Talent, the official franchise, Indian franchise of Got Talent. What I've noticed is that America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent. These are the 2 main Got Talent franchises that genuinely, showcase original acts, things that are experimental for the first time. Whereas the other countries, and I'm not trying to put any country down. If at all, I'll be putting India down if I'm saying this. But this is true that what the productions do is they try to play safe, and what they do is they study, what has worked in America's Got Talent and what has worked in Britain's Got Talent, and let us do the same in our country. Let us have replicas. And in fact, the year I believe Matt Franco won, and the year I think Shin Lim, they kind of won back to back or something like that. Okay, because that was the initial moment where for the first time a magician won America's Got Talent. Coincidentally, the same year, and a magician won in India's Got Talent as well. It's just,
it makes sense.
It's coincidence.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Maybe the guy you saw on Denmark's Got Talent must have been, given, the act by the producers that, this is what you have to do.
I mean, I know at that point, a lot of people started doing Rubik's Cube magic. So it's not, they just pitch the producers, and producers like, we'll take this, great. And then they just do it. It's one of those things where I actually got reached out to a lot of the other talent shows, like Australia's Got Talent reached out. I said no to all of them. The only reason I kind of wanted to do them, the problem is if you do it, it's almost like a step down. That's like the one issue where if you come from America's Got Talent and then all of a sudden, oh, you're doing Australia's Got Talent, everyone's going to be like, well, even though most people wouldn't really care.
Right.
The one thing that I would use it for, I was too busy, that's why I didn't do it, is I get 4 rounds. Ideally, I go for the finals where I could do all brand new magic.
Right.
So for me, I would use it as a time to make up totally brand new tricks. Don't do any of my old stuff. But then what's really cool is I could take that footage and I could edit it into my promo reels and whatnot. They don't know it's Australia's Got Talent. They just see me do awesome magic on TV. And I could even edit the other judges' reactions.
Yeah. In fact, what you say makes so much sense right now. The exact same sentiment was expressed by Eric Diddleman, who did a lot of mentalism long ago, and he mentioned to me the same thing. That when I went on the show, I had just gone with the idea of going there and just making it to air so that I can use the footage and market it. So I think, do you feel that a lot of artists and magicians, they pester themselves that I have to go, I have to win, I should be, in next round, rather than they should probably focus on using that as a marketing tool for themselves. So do you believe that that's probably how the approach should be?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was doing magic full time for a while now. So when I went into the show, I was super blessed to have created a lot of relationships. So before I did the show, I called Oz Perlman, Piff, Derek Hughes, basically everyone, Matt Franklin, everyone who was on the show for the previous 4 years who went. I called them all up, and the coolest part was everyone was so gracious with their time. I had like hour-long conversations with every single one of these people, just asking about the show, producers, everything about it. So I knew exactly what I was getting into.
Right.
I didn't play it as well as I could have, looking back on it, but it's one of those things where I was prepared, so I had like a good idea about what I wanted to get from the show. And I definitely, I could have used. I mean, looking back, hindsight's 2020. All the things I could have done differently to use my platform. Even I could have booked 10 times as many shows if I was smarter about it. Google Ads, target everybody, and more of a business approach. Right. I kind of just got all the attention, and I was like, great, I'm booked, and I didn't really put in the work that I could have.
Right.
But it's one of the things you learn a lesson from it. And what I found amazing is I was always, one of the biggest problems, I was always the Rubik's Cube edition of America's Got Talent. Right. And that's a great title, but I didn't know how to get past that.
Right.
It's a weird problem to have. It's like the Rubik's Cube, but what can I be something else? So the art stuff is kind of fun for me because now it's just like, it's art. And it's just, there's no, they see art if they like it. It's like, it could have crazy value to them. They're impressed with it. They don't have to know I was ever on TV. But when you add the fact, they see this artwork, it's like, that's amazing, that's insane. Then it's like, oh, by the way, I'm also did all these TV shows and whatnot. It just adds credibility to it.
Absolutely.
Kind of cool.
And what inspired you to do the Rubik's Cube art? Because I believe that's way more complicated than actually throwing a cube, catching it, solving it. Because I've seen, I've checked your Instagram, and I've seen that those are genuinely, you take your time and you actually do it yourself. How on earth does someone come up with something like that?
So I did like small, during like Valentine's Day, I would do a little heart, small ones. I tempted to do this giant one in my apartment one day, and I stacked it all up, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, I heard a big crash, and it all crashed down. So I gave up real quick. But then, like on America's Got Talent, I did a medium, a smaller one of Brad Pitt. But I never did the larger scale ones until one day I was like, you know what, let me just try it out. And I did it. And I went on Hollywood Boulevard and I built one. Wow. And I had 10. And the moment that I knew it was something was I had 10 people approach me, legitimate people, like people who represented celebrities, owned stores, etc. They're like, I want to buy this from you. This is amazing. And the way that they talked about what they were seeing me do, I was like, this is something, just by knowing what takes off and what goes viral and what a good idea is, just hearing their response was like, this could be something. And I've kind of done on and off for a year. I'm getting back into it heavily. I did a Kobe piece, and that got, I think, over like 200 million views.
Wow.
In a couple days.
Wow. Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So I believe, is Stephen Brundage now slowly transitioning into the Picasso of cubes?
I guess. Yeah. And as far as magic, so I'm always going to do magic. As far as I had, before the coronavirus, I had all these shows lined up.
We all did.
So definitely in an interest, it's, I feel like art's actually going to save me, because now that I have no shows, I have no income.
Right.
I didn't, I guess if I do my next cube project, but that's going to be a couple months out. So it's like, at this point, selling art's all I have at the moment. So it's kind of definitely interesting.
Now here's a very nerdy kind of a question, back to cubes, but not really about the solving. I was watching an interview of Rubik himself, the person who invented the cube, and I believe it's been 40 years now since the Rubik's Cube invention. Recently there was 40th anniversary. And I saw his interview, and he mentioned that he actually designed the cube for the first time to teach his architect students some about something. But then he also had a philosophical, standpoint of view. He said that this also sort of, signifies that no matter how complicate the situation in life, you can always get back to normalcy and you can do stuff like that. Do you have any philosophical point of view when it comes to cubes? Do you think the Rubik's Cube has lifeless, so to speak?
So kind of a fun, let me show you this. This is, so Erno Rubik doesn't really leave. He doesn't really do interviews much. He doesn't really, take pictures very often.
Yeah.
But I was able to get a signed Rubik's Cube from
That's
him.
From Rubik himself.
Yeah, which is pretty rare because he doesn't really sign, he doesn't really, sign cubes and give them out much. So I got that as a gift. What was really fun is I did a magic show for the world champion of Rubik's Cubes, and he was in the front audience.
Okay.
He was sitting down. Apparently, he was laughing at my show too, having a good time. So that's kind of, the fact that I was able to do my magic for the person who invented it, that was really cool for me. But for me, as far as Rubik's Cubes, I started solving when I was 12 years old. I saw my cousin do it. My older cousin, he did it. And I was like, wait, let me, you're a younger cousin. You're like, wait, let me try.
Yeah.
And I tried and I couldn't do it. So he gave me the instructions. I went to Walmart and I learned how to solve it. And I remember I went to school one day and I brought my Rubik's Cube and I learned how to solve it pretty well. Wow. And I showed up and all the kids were like, you can't do that. What do you, you're not smart enough to do that. And I was like, well, I don't know, maybe let me try it. And I did it. And all the kids were like, whoa. And, that was the first time where, I did magic and then Rubik's Cube and all these, for me as a kid, I was kind of just a way to make connections, make friends. And I was kind of like the kid with all the quirky talents, but for me, I've turned the Rubik's Cube, I think, over 3.5 million times.
Wow. And you've kept count as well?
No. So I've estimated amount of solve. When I used to practice, I got down to 12 seconds. You have a little app and then you time your solve and you do it over and over and you see, you did 100, 200 solves. So back in college, I would spend, 6 hours a day solving over and over again. Yeah, and so I was able to calculate. I did this many solves in a week, this many in a year, and then if I average 50 to 70 turns per solve, it's over 3.5 million turns in a Rubik's Cube.
My goodness! And what's your shortest duration been so far for solving cube?
My best time is 8 seconds ever.
8 seconds.
Yeah.
So probably, I think it's time for you to come out and just accept that you're a superhero. And you're
right.
not,
but as far as the meaning behind it, for me, a lot of magicians will take Rubik's Cubes and do some weird numbers to it and do these tricks with it. Right. For me, it was always the simplicity of the solving that I loved, like the pure, the skill and the practice and the speed. So my magic kind of stemmed from that. And I think what was really cool is I did Rubik's Cubes for 10 years before I even did Rubik's Cube magic. So I just... Yeah, so I just solved the Rubik's Cubes for speed. So when I first, it was one of the things where I was doing magic on the street and my Rubik's Cube was sitting in the box.
Okay.
And someone walked over and they said, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's not magic. It's just a Rubik's Cube." And I dismissed it. I didn't even pick it up.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it was so crazy how one day I just solved it in front of somebody, and they were just like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And I was like, "Wait, that's a better reaction than I got from my card trick." So I started on the streets, and I just added one Rubik's Cube trick. It was, not a good show, one Rubik's Cube trick, and it got great reaction. So I added 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then before you know it, I'm known as a Rubik's Cube magician. Not intentionally. I know I didn't want to be the Rubik's Cube magician, just people liked it. And then what ended up happening is after the speeding ticket video, every single TV show that I was asked to be on, they didn't want a card trick. They've seen a million card tricks. They're like, do the Rubik's Cube.
Just the Rubik's Cube.
So, yeah, I didn't really have a choice as far as, I had to do something with the Rubik's Cube. So I kind of just did that. And then over time, that's what, and it's kind of cool to have that branding behind it, because the cool thing is now when I do a show, I can do whatever I want. But back to your question. So there's no really semblance, no special meaning. It's just, it's been able to, allow me to live and, pay my rent, live a beautiful life, have awesome things and make great friends and travel the world. So I owe it all to
this. That's significant enough. We don't actually we don't need to get into a different meaning altogether. To teach me some meaning of life.
But as far as speaking wise or putting it into, it's a great way a tool to connect with all different points, from
Right.
solve, mixed up to solve life's problems, etc. But
Mhm.
for me, it's been just, a blessing that I've been able to do what I do.
I would probably like to share something at this point. Like all my life, and I turned 30 just recently, and all my life, all 30 years, I thought I will never be able to solve a Rubik's cube. I always thought I would never be able to solve it. I am, for some reason, because I thought I've tried and it doesn't work. Uh, I have learned how to solve a Rubik's cube just like hardly 2 weeks ago, and I learned it by watching a DVD that I bought like a couple of years ago. But I initially tried, but then again I failed, and that was Cube Three. Okay, that was your DVD. That was the first DVD, not the second set. The second set you actually teach the tricks, but the first one,
Uh-huh.
and you explained them so well. You explained them so well, so slow. You've been patient, and trust me, the way you've been there and you've done everything actually made me, learn the cube now. Now I cannot keep the cube down. I'll keep, mixing it up on my own. Just, and I'd be very happy if I see an unsolved cube now, because now I get to solve it.
Because then you're gonna get into with solve it. When I actually taught all my friends in high school,
Right.
I actually was driving 4 hours across upstate New York.
Right.
And I was driving, my friend was sitting in my passenger seat. I taught him in the 4 hours just using my words.
Really?
But not even touching it, just vocally talking to him.
You just kept driving and saying away, up, back, down, away.
So what I found so beautiful is like everything in my life, like, my teachers are always like, why are you solving the Rubik's Cube? Why are you doing these card tricks? Do your math homework. And I was like, no, do your math homework. No. And I wouldn't study. I wouldn't do it. And I was like spending all this time doing it. But it's so crazy how much time was put in just to reach that point. And people, they want stuff now. They want it immediately. Today's day and age, they want to go viral right now. They want to have success. They want to be on TV. I have one friend, a really good friend of mine, a little bit entitled in the sense of they're like, why am I not on TV? I should be on TV. And I'm just like, you haven't put in any work.
Right. That's why you're not.
I spent, 15 years just sucking at magic. I did it for friends and I did it in the street and I sucked. I sucked for 15 years. I was okay, but it just got, and I still don't think I'm great at the moment. Like, there's an amount of improvement, the sky's the limit.
This man is here to say he's still not great.
I don't think
We all should probably go die somewhere right now. Stephen Brundage is telling me he feels he's still not great. Penn and Teller did not even waste a second. Penn and Teller did not waste even a second to discuss, make a guess. No. But Stephen Brundage says he's not good enough.
Here's the one thing that really helped me with my match. So for a long time, I was doing the Rubik's Cube magic and it was going well, but I was always uncomfortable with my show because, like, my friend Wes Barker was funnier. This guy's cooler. This guy is, has better hair, better card tricks, better routines. This guy is better scripting, better emotional, So I always looked at that. And the one thing that kind of changed everything was me just accepting me for who I am.
Right.
And that was, it sounds cheesy, but for me to finally be like, this is who I am. And obviously you could evolve and morph and put in your time and effort to change and grow. But I was like, you know what? I'm happy and I'm proud of what I've done and I embrace it. And that's when I started my show actually gaining some meaning to me. And once the show is meaning to me, you're able to give meaning to other people with it too.
That's absolutely true. Like, unless something appeals to you, how can it appeal to someone else? Now, tell me one thing: how important is pacing? How important is it to be sounding natural throughout your routine? Because you actually sound like you're doing nothing, and you are doing mental gymnastics at that moment while you're doing your entire cube routine. So has it ever happened to you that your voice, your tone fluctuated while doing the things in between, or have you just been naturally gifted and born this way, or how does it work?
No, I mean, so it's one of those things where it all comes down to practice. So the first 2 rounds of America's Got Talent, guess how many times I rehearsed or practiced for the first 2 rounds of America's Got Talent?
I have no idea. 3.5, 0.
0, not once. So when I started street performing, I went on the street and I started doing my routines. So the first routine on America's Got Talent, I did that trick thousands of times on a live audience. So I had everything go wrong that could go wrong. You know, everything that went wrong, I knew it. So if something went wrong, I worked it all out. Second one, I literally did that trick tens of thousands of times, a torn corner to Rubik's Cube. So when I did it, all I did was I made sure it was all set to go. I knew every single line, no hesitation, great. So that was just comes down to just putting in the time and effort. The second 2 rounds, nightmare. Because you have a week to come up with a brand new trick. And for people, the way America's Got Talent works is you have a producer and you come up with maybe like your 4 best tricks. And you're like, here are my 4 best tricks. Can I do one of these tricks? And your producer says to you, no. And then you're like, wait, here's another 4 ideas. You know, you could even pitch this book trick, which is totally new. And they're like, someone did a book trick last year.
That's it.
So no book tricks at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot more challenging because I had to pitch ideas, and it was like coming up. And I learned this tactic. The magicians use this. If you ever want to be on TV, this is a secret to being on TV. Come up with the coolest idea you can and pitch it. If you can't even do it, don't worry about it. If you can't do it, don't worry. Pitch the awesome idea. If they like it enough, you know, I've never heard about that. Let's do it. The moment they say yes, get your butt together and work on it. And then at that point, you know, so like I did that for today's show where I pitched a trick I've never done before ever. And they're like, we love it. And I'm just like, okay, great. So now I have to come up, but it's a Today Show, so I was able to put in that work. Wow. Before America's Got Talent, it was definitely pretty hectic. The last 2 rounds were a little bit intense.
Wow. Wow.
Not fun.
That's actually how Bill Gates, made a deal with IBM before becoming Bill Gates. He sold them MS-DOS. He sold them Windows when Windows didn't exist.
He didn't even have it. He's like, this is what we have. And it's like, yeah. It's so, I mean, if you could deliver, you have to deliver. You know, if you're doing magic for, 2 weeks and you don't know what you need to know, right. When you've done magic long enough, you know what tricks are possible. Like, oh, I could do that somehow.
Right. So that's, but that's quite ballsy also. Like at the same time, like you just literally use your imagination, and then they'll be like, yeah, okay, that sounds good because it sounds impossible. And then you're
you want to hear a crazy story for one of the America's Got Talent shows? So this is the 3rd show, and I pitched it. My rehearsals weren't going well. The producers, there was a lot of confusion. You know, the wording of the routine wasn't as smooth, whatnot. Because the first 2 rounds were so smooth. The 3rd round, brand new. They're like, why are you not as, why are you with your words? You're not as concise as before because I just made up the routine, But I posted on social media something I shouldn't have. And I had the head executive of America's Got Talent yell at me with their lawyers saying, you can't post that on social media. So I got yelled at. A couple minutes later, we're doing the live rehearsal for the live show. So we're going the entire dress rehearsal, do all the tricks. And I do the trick and it messes up.
Wow.
I found out there was a flaw in the trick. So the trick was, Mel B names the color. I put a cube in the back. She thinks of a color. The other person thinks of a color. And then, what's your color? Red. Perfect. Red here. White here. There was like a 20% chance that the trick would go wrong no matter what I did.
Okay.
Because one of the colors, if she named the color, the second color, if she named it, it wouldn't work. So there was a flaw in the trick, and I didn't even realize that. And I'm so glad they figured out when I would do rehearsals, because if I did it during the live show, I would have been. So the fact that I came upon that one solution that messed up is like, that was good. But I was like, I have to refigure out my trick. Not fun. And then about 20 minutes before I go live on stage, I lost one of my props, an essential prop for that specific trick.
Okay. And then how do you deal with that?
So it was right before going on stage. I'm in the dressing room. I lost my prop. I started just crying tears, just emotional tears, just like nervous, emotional breakdown because everything's going wrong. Right. But then I was able to find the missing piece, and then I got on stage. I did the act. Everything went well. If you notice the 3rd act of America's Got Talent, I'm like, I'm yelling. I'm really excited at the end because I was genuinely like shaking from the energy of just like it actually all went right.
Is this the one with the missing piece puzzle or something like that? This is the one?
No, it's the other one. It's like the big Rubik's cube that matches.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I remember now. Now you actually tell the audience, no, don't applaud, don't applaud, don't
Yeah.
applaud. I've done this.
And I should have let him in applause. Then I should have been like, but wait, there's more. But I was just so amped up. I was just, that it actually
working. It's working.
Yeah, but
I see that.
so many stressful moments. But I mean, obviously, in the end, it's all worth it. It's all a challenge, and you overcome your challenges.
Yeah, yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. Stephen, we could just keep going on and on and on, but I don't want to waste any of your minutes right now. I'm sure your time is extremely precious. So one last question I'll ask you. Okay, that's cool. All right. Now, I just saw your performance on the Steve Harvey show, and it was, to me, I felt it was probably chopped to the bare minimum. So did they make you do like just one single little? Because I know that Stephen Brundage would never go to perform, unless he's doing his entire, routine, and that's sort of what you have come across to me, at least. So
yeah, with TV, it's one of those things where it's just it's totally different than street shows, live shows, walk around. It's just a different thing. They have a time limit. They have what they want to fill. Obviously, learning how to work with producers is so important. But if they say you have 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes. There's not much more you can do. So it's kind of just like, every situation is different. You have to just analyze it. Can I do a card trick real quick?
Sure. Oh, you don't need to ask. Please take your time. I am free. If you want to keep going, I'm all open to this.
We can go for a little bit. So I'm actually doing a Zoom magic show this week on Friday, I believe. But this is just one trick that I'm going to do, but it's
okay.
A little differently.
Those cards.
Deck of, so when we do the live show, I'm going to bring out a brand new deck of cards, whatnot, so people know it's all genuine. But I'm going to show you some skill space stuff.
Okay.
This shuffle. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Say the word stop for me.
Stop.
Camera, memorize that card. Do you like it or do you want a different one?
I'm fine with that. I'm cool.
That's good. So instead of having you touch a card, because you're kind of through the screen, you're going to name any number between 10 and 20 off the top of your head.
Okay, 18.
18. You want to change your mind or stick with the 18? It's whatever you want.
I'll stick to 18. I'm cool.
Okay, so I'm going to cut up exactly 18 cards from the middle of the deck. And I'm going to do it by the weight of the card. So watch close. Exactly 18 from the middle. From the middle of the deck. That weighs exactly 18.
If that turns out to be 18, I'm going to lose my mind.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 cards down. Your card, the 10.
Oh!
Now, that's decent, but here's the really important question. Do you think, show of hands, can I actually weigh cards?
Yeah.
You think I could weigh cards?
No. I just asked that like a question. Yeah, can you?
I'm asking you. Do you think I could weigh cards? Yes or no?
No, I don't think you can weigh cards.
I just did it though.
Yeah, you did.
So I'll show you exactly what I mean. Name another. I'll prove it to you. Name a number from 5 to 10. Top of your head.
7.
Everyone, you could switch from 7. Everyone does name 7. Do you want to stick with 7 or switch to it?
9.
We'll do okay. Watch from the top. Exactly. We'll go for 9. Right from the top.
Yeah.
That weighs exactly 9. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. More time. Go a little hard. 10 to 15. Go a little harder. Name another number.
Okay, 13.
13. So we'll go right from the top. Let's try that. 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. One more time. 20, 15 to 20. Any number you want.
17.
17. Let's try it out. A little bit messy. 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Exactly 17. It's all bullshit. I can't weigh cards. I'm Stephen Brundage. Zoom into magic with Akshay.